Hey guys, it's Gala Avery from the Video Archives podcast. While we're shuffling tapes and gearing up for season 2, Quentin and Roger have sent me on a mission all around Los Angeles and beyond to talk with filmmakers, photographers, VHS collectors, and other interesting characters. What are we going to be talking about? Well, that's up for my guests to decide. On the Gala Show, guests have 30 minutes to talk about whatever topic they want you to know about. Filmmakers like Josh Miller will tell us how he found his tribe, while writers like Larry Karaszewski will let you know what he considers to be a true LA movie. VHS collectors like Connor Holt make an argument for the genre of pirate movies, while writers like Josh Olson are going to let us in on what he considers to be right-wing cinema. Actors like Percy Hines White will share his love of outsider art, while animators and cartoonist Sierra Nielli will reminisce on his experiences of growing up in a Philly pizza shop and how this time in his life influenced him to pick up a pencil. So, join me every Thursday for a new guest with an entirely new topic. The Gala Show premieres October 26th, available wherever you get your podcasts. On this episode of the Video Archives podcast, former Video Archives employee and director of operations at the New Beverly Cinema, Unruly Julie, joins Quentin and Roger in the store for a 3-movie employee special. First off the shelves, the flying monster itself, Rodan. Born from a volcanic crater, the crimson monster bird Rodan tramples the earth. To begin, Quentin gives us background on Ishirō Honda's genre-inspiring career and lets us know just how important this director is to cinema. Then, we're on to discussing The Hand of Man, the artistry and the amazing special effects, and the poetry and tragic nature of this tale. Next up, he played the most dangerous game in Europe, and he played it alone. Quentin, Roger, and Julie go undercover in the Quiller Memorandum. After 2 British Secret Intelligence Service agents are murdered at the hands of the Phoenix, Agent Quiller is sent to Berlin to investigate. Taped from the Fox channel, the gang was able to watch this movie widescreen. We discuss George Segal's performance, the underlying subtext from the director, and just how good the final scene is. Try my brand of cigarettes. You just might like them. And lastly, a movie that has me scratching my head. What the heck is Treachery and Greed on the Planet of the Apes doing on here? I knew that we'd be watching an ape movie because Julie was here, but what is this? I've never even heard of this movie. Well, the other employees will have to fill you in, because I only know one thing. Ape good, human bad. I'm Gala Avery, and joining us now, here's Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery.
And thank you, Gala. This is Quentin Tarantino, and this is the Video Archives podcast. Sitting across from me is
Roger Avery.
And we have a very special guest on the episode.
Hold on.
No.
Wind that back.
No.
Sorry.
I was going to qualify it. That's not an alarm one yet.
Okay.
She is a guest on this show, on this episode, but she is not a customer, as all the other guests have been.
No.
Customers. She is a former employee, as we all were. It is Julie McLean.
Julie! Unruly Julie to me.
Yeah.
Unruly Julie McLean in the house. We're going to have some fire today, y'all. I'm bringing it. A redhead, feisty, let's go.
Absolutely. Julie.
Things haven't changed at all.
They have not. Well, Quentin dubbed me Unruly Julie McLean. That's how I got
That's how
that
she
name.
got that's how she got the
got that
nickname.
name. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
Well, the thing is, Julie is the general manager of the New Beverly Cinema. She's been working at the New Beverly Cinema since I handed the keys and the calendar off to her. All right, so many years ago, and she made the cinema what it is today. It's one of the coolest cinemas and one of the highest grossing independent cinemas in America.
Wow.
And we've actually been having a red letter year this whole year and last year as well. But even more important than all that New Beverly shenanigans stuff is Julie started out first as one of those cool customers that used to come into Video Archives and would sit down and we would talk about movies. And then actually me and Julie started going to movies together because we really had similar tastes. And then fairly shortly, Julie was working there. So tell us about your Video Archives experience working at the store, how you got there, all that stuff.
Well, we had a common friend, Steve-O, who worked at Video Archives, and I knew him through my licorice pizza days. His girlfriend, Polly, would still work there, and he'd come and bring her lunch all the time, and we'd just sit there and
there was a gigantic
movies.
licorice pizza connection. Like a good half of the people.
Right across the street from us.
If you didn't come from Video Outtakes, you came from licorice pizza.
Hey, man, it's cool.
Including Julie. You were running on your mom's account, right?
I was running on my mom's account, and Steve-O then set me up from my own account, for which, I got free videos. What can we say? I'm like, oh, hey, man, this is cool. If it's free, it's for me. I'm there. And
is that because you guys used to work together? So he's like, I'm hooking you up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was normal. That was, by the way, a perfectly acceptable thing to do at our store.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's a courtesy pass. She works at Licorice Pizza. It's its own video company. Yeah. Courtesy pass.
It's also interesting because I was thinking about it a little bit, and I'm like, people go, oh, those are the best years of my life. Well, I'm not going to say that because I'm pretty happy with my life right now. But I will say Video Archives is a darn good stretch. And part of that is because of the people, like lifelong friends I've met. Quentin, we're lifelong friends for decades.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Roger, when I saw you it's just like, when I saw you at the New Beverly a year ago, it's just like, oh, it's Roger. It was just like picked up, my friend Laura Rush, best friend. You know what I mean? Steve-O, who's not here anymore, but we continued our friendship.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's really, really cool. And I can see the correlations between the New Beverly and Video Archives in that aspect.
Well, they absolutely go.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just people.
It's a continuation of that vibe.
Yes. We're people that love fucking movies. We're going to hang out and talk about movies. We're going to watch movies. Quentin, in the Video Archives heydays, on our days off on a Friday, we go up to Westwood. We'd see 3 movies in a row.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? It's hard to see 3 movies in a row now. I did it the other day, but
Yeah, no. As a matter of fact, I think I don't think it was the first time we went to the movie. This was when you were still a customer. I don't remember the first time what we saw, but I remember the second time we went to the movies, we saw Ron. We saw Kurosawa's Ron.
Yeah, the first thing that we saw was the Chet Baker documentary.
Oh, that was the first. That makes sense. Let's Get Lost.
Let's Get Lost. Yes, that was the first one. And then we saw Kurosawa's Ron.
Yeah, that was our second movie together.
Both at the New Art, actually.
Yeah.
So we had to drive up from the South Bay. You had to make an effort sometimes to see movies, and that was not a problem.
Okay, so but how did you go from being a cool customer to actually working there?
Well, I quit Licorice Pizza because I forget there's some corporation out of Minneapolis, like Music World or Music Land or something. It might have been Music Land. They took over. It got a little too corporate for me, and I don't know if you noticed.
But you went to the right place.
But it's not really my vibe.
But you were sort of their troubleshooter, weren't you? You were one of their troubleshooter managers. When they having a problem at a store, they send Julie.
Yes, I was really good at, and I think because my grandpa was a police officer, I was really good at loss prevention. So I would they would send me to these stores, and they're like, we're losing tons of merchandise and everything, like figure out who it is. And inevitably I would figure out who it was.
Yeah.
I don't know
like
if I was the snitch.
You're like the narc.
Listen, I feel more
she
like
represented the company,
Sam
man.
Spade or Philip Marlowe. I was like the detective.
Yeah.
I dug that.
She's not the snitch. She broke the case.
You're not supposed to steal. So,
So did you actually do a couple of big busts? At these various licorice pizza stores?
But I would have to they had a whole loss prevention manager. So once I figured out what was going on and I had a pretty good idea, then I would tell him and he would come in and do the bust. But I was so good at my job that I don't remember his name, but he gave me one of his old police badges. He's all like, you have helped us so much. I am going to give you, it was like in this leather, cover and stuff. And he'd flip it open and I probably still have it someplace, but it's really
Keep
cool.
that in your car.
Badge.
Yeah.
Well,
put it on your dashboard whenever you get pulled over.
Well, I'm a mouthy, so I usually get in trouble with our friends. Although I respect for everybody, but it just didn't feel right anymore. And I just wanted to change. And like Steve was, you should always come work. You come work here. You hang out with Quentin, just get the vibe, everybody. And it was just, I don't even know how I I talked to or anything. All of a sudden, I was just like, I'll work in there.
But was it like one of those that for the first month you're working on weekends and everything, and then pretty soon you're just you're doing full shifts?
I think I was pretty much full shifts because at the time I was going to Cal State Long Beach too. So I needed to have some money to see movies.
Yeah.
Pay for tuition.
I know the parents did that, thankfully, but I did
God
pay for
bless.
my, my house that I rented with 4 Norwegian men who were, even though I was gay,
Wow,
I'm gay,
that's
I'm
a
still
great
gay.
story in itself.
It was like great. I can appreciate beauty in any form. So I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
So like living with Vikings.
I was literally living with Vikings, and we had this like pool table, and we'd always be playing pool, or we'd be they were very sporty. We'd go play golf. It's the only time I would get up in my college days early is to go play golf with one of the guys.
But now you ended up working, I think, off and on from time to time. But you ended up working at Archives for like 6 years or something, right?
Yeah, I was there.
You were right to the.
Oh yeah,
very
you survived the transition to the
I went
Hermosa,
to Hermosa
Beach store.
Beach. What if you don't have parking, folks, this is not good.
Yeah, it all fell apart when the move went to Hermosa
Yeah.
across from the Cove Theater, or was it the Bijou by then?
And there was the Bijou.
And that
by
was the
then.
Bijou by then, yeah.
I left maybe 2 or 3 months. I saw the writing on the wall. I don't want to be here. This is terrible. And interesting though, it hasn't come full circle, but hey, we are here. Like if you would have asked us then, decades ago, if we'd be sitting, we didn't even know podcasts existed then, but we'd even be reminiscing about the good old days of Archives.
Actually,
in front of hundreds of thousands of listeners now. So,
that's a euphemism, but but one of the things I remember actually about so Julie had a dynamic. She was part of a dynamic duo. She was really good friends with this girl, Laura Rush. There was another cool customer that became
Another redhead.
Another redhead. They were the 2 reds. All right, they became best buddies, and I remember they started a magazine company.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I thought it was such a great idea.
Yeah, it was
because
let's sell
magazines are cool. Magazines are cool.
Yes, let's sell magazines.
Yeah.
And so she asked Lance, can we start entrepreneurial? Can we do a magazine company and sell magazines in the store? And then that'll be their side of the business.
It did well for a little bit, and then it didn't. So I think once Video Archives downsized, in the same location, same strip mall.
Yeah.
Once it downsized, there wasn't room for the magazines. So
Yeah.
But I like curating things as you do. So
absolutely,
programming wise and stuff like that. So I love the magazines and just love getting the foreign film magazines and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a cool group. Magazines A Go-Go was the name.
Yeah. No, if you had a couple of spinner racks, they could have done really well.
Oh yeah, a spinner rack.
If you had a magazine spinner rack, that would have been a whole different story.
I concur.
Monster of is a skyscraper. When he moves, the whole earth quivers and quakes, and an abyss of horror opens up. See these prehistoric beasts emerge from the bowels of the earth after 200 million years to devastate mankind. Nothing can stop him. Nothing escapes this monstrous beast of evil.
Rodan with Cohit Slithis, or Spawn of the Slithis, depending on who you ask, will be playing for 2 nights on Monday, May 15th and Tuesday, May 16th on glorious 35mm at the New Beverly Cinema. Rodan, the first kaiju movie shot in Technicolor, is being shown in jaw-dropping Technicolor. You don't want to miss it. 7165 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90036. For tickets and even more information, visit thenewbev.com. The New Beverly Cinema, always on film.
So the first film is Ishirō Honda's Rodan, and I'm really excited to actually have an Ishirō Honda film on the show. We've introduced Sergio Corbucci to the audience out there, and I think Ishirō Honda is one of the great international genre directors of all time. I think there's Corbucci, then a little shelf slightly under, there's Mario Bava, and there's Ishirō Honda. Slightly under that, there's Terrence Fisher. And then just keep on going, just keep on going down. Aside from Spielberg, I think he's like the greatest director to specialize in science fiction and to create this science fiction world. He's known for doing Godzilla.
He's created a complete universe that informed all of our childhoods.
Absolutely. I mean, there's like, there's the Universal monsters and the Universal monster films, is Dracula, Frankenstein. There's all those guys. Then there's the Toho monsters, and then there's the comic book universes. And then they all just kind of existed together. However, the only one of those universes that was pretty much driven by a directorial hand is Ishirō Honda's. And he just kind of, just for this period of time, he just did one classic after another for Toho Studios. Obviously, he did the very first Godzilla movie. But then when these big giant monster movies, big kaiju movies became the thing, he was their director. And their two big directors were Ishirō Honda and Akira Kurosawa. And both of the movies that they made for the studio were extremely expensive. And the Toho monster movies had this thing that the Universal monster movies did not have. And the Hammer did not feel the need. Hammer didn't feel the need that after they hit with Horror Dracula with Christopher Lee, let's make them each bigger and better than the last one. No. They did the opposite. They run them in the ground.
Yeah.
And Universal, even though I think even whatever they consider the worst of Universals, I still like them all. They're still really fun. But with the Toho and Ishirō Honda monster movies, no, everyone had to get bigger and better than the last one. And they started working on this gargantuan scale that they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so like you're literally seeing Ishirō Honda create this science fiction universe that doesn't exist except for what he shoots and these models that they build and that they execute with both expertise and charm. It's a pure vision of an invented world. Probably explored as much as it's ever been explored before.
The Hondaverse.
Yeah, the Hondaverse, from one film after another, to such a degree that like, oh no, it's easy now. 4 different characters from 4 different separate Ishirō Honda films can now all appear together in another movie. So,
Quentin, we know that obviously he did Godzilla before this, and Rodan is like another character, and this is like Rodan's movie. But describe where he was in his career. Like, how many other movies? Like, where was he by the time he made this one?
Well, Rodan is their first color film. Rodan is their first color.
And boy, is it!
Yeah. Where Ishirō Honda's coming from. One, he's coming from having done Godzilla, but he's also coming from doing a bunch of World War II movies about like Japanese fighters. And that was where they figured out all their special effects, because they did all these plane effects and, taking off from aircraft carriers, landing on aircraft carriers, bombing shit.
Using models.
Yeah, all using models. Yeah, one of his most famous movies was a movie called I Bomb Pearl Harbor.
A big hit in Japan.
It was a smash hit. Japanese listeners will know that that's one of the classic war films of all time. But that's where him and his team figured out all the special effects. So when it came time to do Godzilla, boom, they were already, and then they created this whole new world that they're learning how to do it, and the canvas is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he just almost seemingly has no limit, to what he's able to explore. And some of the films are great, big, terrific monster movies. Godzilla is a great monster movie. Rodan is a terrific monster movie. Mothra is another great monster movie. I think it's probably his greatest. All right. But then, even you say that, and then Godzilla versus the Thing or Godzilla versus Mothra, it's basically just a remake of Mothra with Godzilla, and it might be even a little bit better. It's really good. It's really good. Okay, they just added Godzilla to it, but, well, that's pretty cool. Doesn't matter that it's the exact same movie. But then you have these space adventures that he would do. In a weird way, Monster Zero is more of a space adventure than just a big, giant monster movie. If I had to offer up one Honda film, I think for like serious consideration, it probably wouldn't even be one of the big epic Kaiju films. It would probably be his Attack of the Mushroom People. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
It's the one that's the creepiest idea. It's like a playboy guy. He's got a bunch of rich friends, and they're on this yacht, and they're just chilling out on this yacht on a little vacation, sailing around, and somehow they just get shipwrecked on this island. And they're like, okay, what the fuck are we going to do? And then for like a little bit, it almost turns into a Lena Wertmiller movie where there's kind of this weird division of classes. And now the shit's hit the fan. What are we going to do? But then they find these mushrooms. And so they start eating some of the, like, oh, don't eat. We don't know if those could be toadstools. They could be poisonous. Well, I don't know what we're going to do, So somebody tries them and they go, hey, these are really great. Yeah, they are really great. And so now they're all eating the mushrooms, and now everything's okay because they're all eating the mushrooms, and it's all really great.
It's like my college years.
Yeah, and now everyone's just chilling, and nobody has any problem with anybody else. And yeah, they're stuck on their island, but now that's not so bad.
We got mushrooms. Don't worry about it.
There's a lot of mushrooms here. We're all good. Everything's going to be fine. And what you realize is the more you eat the mushrooms, the more you turn into a mushroom person until you actually become a mushroom. For a while, and there's becomes people for a while who try to resist it, but they can't resist it. And
it's a little invasion of the body snatchers.
It's very much invasion of the body snatchers, just done with with even more interesting metaphor via the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And the isolation of them just stuck in this thing where, like, no, of course you're going to become part of this island. Anyway, it's just a terrific movie.
That sounds awesome.
It's absolutely terrific. So where Rodan falls in is, he still hasn't created Mothra yet. He still hasn't created Ghidorah, the three-headed dragon yet. He still hasn't done War of the Gargantuans yet. With him creating Rodan, this is his first step in creating the team that will be the team of the Toho monsters. So again, prefacing that we didn't watch this on video. We watched on a beautiful IB Technicolor 35 millimeter print of Rodan. Guys, what did you think?
First of all, having the opportunity of watching your print of the film and having it be an IB Technicolor and having it be a Honda film, which means it has all those resources at that time period. The scale of the film is so spectacular. And the vision of that mining village and the depth and the amount of extras and the size of everything, the makeup effects, like everything about the movie is A++ for that time.
100% agree. Yeah. And the special effects blew me away. And I want to talk about that a lot.
Yeah, I can't stop. I dreamed actually about the miniature effects, especially when
the parasites.
Well, you know how Rodan, when he beats his wings, he creates like a nuclear wind, basically.
Yeah, he absolutely creates a nuclear wind.
And their effects of that nuclear wind are so good. Those little miniatures, and when they break apart, you're looking. It looks like it's made out of like toothpicks. It's incredible. It's simply like nothing today. Like we see now with digital effects. We see all sorts of things happening, buildings getting torn apart and the Avengers style, scale stuff and Transformers style things where you see buildings like disintegrating.
Yeah, they fly through a skyscraper as they're fighting
and it explodes open and
desks and glass.
All of that looks great. It all looks great. It doesn't look like this though.
It doesn't.
There's something to be said about the hand of man and the artistry put in and the time put into that. And I know that there's a lot of time put into digital video effects, but there's just something about how tactile it is that when you see it happen, it's breathtaking.
I think also there is something about Rodan specifically because these will be Ishirō Honda's set pieces that he'll do for most of his career. Is the big giant monster showing up at the magnificent Toho Tokyo model set, all right, and then having lay waste to Tokyo in gigantic ways. He does it again and again and again. As many times as he did it, I kind of think the sequence in Rodan may be his most exquisite. Not that this is ever the goal when it comes to the Toho model effects, but it looks a little more real in Rodan than it looks in the other thing. When the things break up, they break up in a much more realistic way. Again, reality is not what you're looking for, but when you get it in this one, I think that there's just something about the sequence in this movie that's just superlative.
The missiles, the tanks firing,
oh my
the
God,
sound
that
effects.
Sequence where
it's just, you're buying it. So I'm going to give a shout out to the special effects guy that he worked with a lot, which is Eiji Tsuburaya.
Yeah.
So just magnificent.
That crazy wild slow motion when they're just laying waste to Rodan, and he's like, and it's like almost like Peckinpah slow motion, the way he's just moving his like wings and everything.
Yeah, or like when they Rodan is flying and they're trying to like scout him out and stuff, and they're like, oh, they're here, go tell the base and stuff, and so one army guy goes in his little jeep and he's going down, and they're Rodan ain't having that, and he comes and he flaps his wing, but you see like the jeep gets turned over, and then you see like little legs like sticking up. You remember the legs, and they're like kind of waving, and the jeep like hits like the side of a hill or something.
No, it does like a triple somersault and smashes into a hill. Yeah,
it is so cool. When the bridge breaks,
the bridge.
My God, Rodan flies over the bridge.
When these buildings come apart, like there's one big warehouse building that kind of blows apart at one point. You're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, in anything else, they would have built the model and knocked it down. Here, it looks like they didn't just build the model. They built what was inside of the walls, and they put furniture inside of it. And they put there's interiors so that when it rips apart, there's an inside. There's all sorts of stuff going on. It's the amount of work involved in doing that is absolutely crazy.
How cool was the larva too? Because you're like waiting for this monster movie to come out, and you're like, Rodan, like we know what Rodan is, but then it's like this larva and
those
stuff.
Earwigs that are
and their little eyes like
there's like parasites.
There's
like fucking little parasites.
It's so cool. It's like there's like 2 men in that suit making that happen. I just love all like the suitmation as they call it. Well, no, it's so cool.
Well, the scripts for all of his movies are really, really cool because like it's never this straightforward thing. Oh, we found this egg and it hatched, and now we got to deal with this like crazy pterodactyl. Or it's always like a complicated script going on, and there's it's a complicated aspect about the way these miners work in this town, and so it's never straightforward. It gets around to it. I mean, like Rodan's not even introduced until like
but you're still
40
into the
minutes.
Movie.
But
they're like, you think this monster is bad?
Yeah, exactly.
Just wait till the next one. What I loved about it was it was reminding me a lot of The Relic, actually. They're going down into the mine, and so it was almost like the sewers in The Relic, and you have like kind of this creature down there. And I started watching it, and I'm like, this is like Peter Hyams almost.
I found bold letters. I just wrote tragic. It's
sad. The movie.
So
it's in a way, it's a love story like the newlyweds in the film.
Oh yeah.
Rodan is also in a way a newlywed, and he's just a creature. In the end, I think it's not his fault what happened. It's obviously, as according to the prologue, man's fault.
Yep. Once again,
I think the final shot of Rodan's final moment, I think that poetry goes a long way to making this one of like Ishirō Honda's like top 4 great movies.
Completely.
All right. It's just a great monster movie regardless. Now, maybe the storyline of Mothra is more interesting, but there's more to it there. But that final stroke, it's a master stroke.
How about how that lava looked?
That
beautiful fake lava that they made that looked better than any contemporary lava I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It looked amazing.
And I have to say one of the things, this was pointed out by a friend of mine, Joe. He's a editor that Sally used to hire, a good friend of Sally's, that he would hire him just work on some other things about our movie when we needed him. We're working on this sequence, so he'd work on something and I would show him stuff. And I was talking to him about Rodan, and he goes, that scene when the guy, he's got amnesia, he doesn't know what he's seeing, and it's just all a big blur, and then he sees the egg, and then that triggers his flashback into the cave. And then Joe goes, that actually might be my favorite flashback trigger in the history of cinema. And you watch it, and it might be one of mine now, too.
Absolutely.
It's so seamless.
Wow.
It's so charming. It's just, I mean, that's when you're talking about Ishirō Honda, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about expertise, science fiction, world building, expertise, par excellence. You're talking about the greatest special effects of their day, executed by the people who know how to do it. And it's just all backed with charm. Yeah. It's like the world building charm of Ishirō Honda is just has to be, it cannot be denied. It's what it's about.
Like hearing your love for him and the movies, like if you just think like, oh, Japanese monster movies, but no, you just encapsulated what it's about and what it means to like so many fans like myself. So it's just, that was beautiful.
Have you ever wondered what the lead singer of Smash Mouth, Zach Goody, feels about new versus old guys in music and cinema? Or how photographer Toasty Cakes makes his cinematic discoveries? What about the opinion of Rotten Tomatoes editor Jacqueline Coley and what she considers to be the new Hollywood shift of the streaming era? Join me, reporter on the beat Gala Avery, as I get to the bottom of these very questions. Starting on October 26th, I have a new guest on the mic every week. Yes, every Thursday, hear your favorite filmmakers, photographers, actors, models, and more talk about a topic that is near and dear to their heart that they want you to know about. You'd be surprised at what people are interested in. The Gala Show premieres October 26th with new episodes every Thursday, available wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back, joined by Gala Raquel Avery. Hey, Gala, what did you think of Rodan?
Hey, okay, so first off, Julie, I'm so happy that you're here on the podcast.
Hey.
I've been waiting all season.
Thank you.
All season I've been saying...
She actually has been saying, when's Julie coming out?
When is Unruly Julie coming?
You tease me about it, and then I'd occasionally email. I just want to say that, listening to some of the episodes, you're a good dad, Roger.
Thank
You had
you.
mentioned something about being a massive Bud Bedecker fan.
Yeah.
And I am like, oh, yes, girl. Like, you had me right there. Actually, Quentin had Bud up before he passed away. And right when I kind of started being his assistant. And it's probably still my favorite person that I've met over the years was Bud Bedecker.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
And you could learn a lot. He didn't care. He just would sit there and answer all my stupid questions. So,
Okay, that's
cool.
so wonderful to hear. I love that.
Super cool.
Oh, okay, well,
To like Bud Bedecker.
Bud Bedecker did watch a couple of movies in my theater.
Yes, he did. Yes.
Yeah, Bud.
Yeah, I'm super excited to say that Gala's way cooler than I am.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go
a
that far.
father's greatest joy, believe me.
No, yes, absolutely. Yeah, you reach a certain point, like, oh no, it's about the next generation. You're about your children. Well, you guys' movies and stuff. For me, it's like, no, it's my nieces.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So
I love it. Well, I'm going to start this off with a memory that my father gave me when I was probably far too young. But my dad actually had me watching the Godzilla movies when I was like a really little kid. And I like when you watch movies when you're little, like you don't really remember them, They're like vague memories in the back of your head.
She was 14 months old.
Except for this one memory that has stuck with me. And it's probably one of my most formative viewing experiences. And I found out recently that other people have had this same memory drilled into their head because of it. But it takes place in Destroy All Monsters, where the girl has the earring on her ear, which is like the mind control device. And they grab it and they pull it off. I will never forget that moment ever in cinema. I will always have that burned in my head. And so that's like a very special. So I was excited to watch
I always
this
made
movie.
sure that our Destroy All Monsters DVD was in your little stack. I always would move it back in.
And
I like the girl alien in that. He is. We have come to control you now.
And my brother and I actually actually used to play the Destroy All Monsters video game on GameCube together. So we had a lot of, it was like Super Smash Brothers, like with the Godzilla characters.
Yeah, so you can like be Godzilla or be a
Mothra or be like any of them and like fight against each other. But so for me, I just gotta say this out loud, that little larvae creature, like the little like thing, so cute. I love him.
The little Paris, the little maggot,
little maggot thing where he's like
shit mite.
That little killer.
I love him.
That little shit mite.
I love the weird noise that he makes, like the weird like.
Yeah, the noise is really cool.
The noise he makes is really cool. I like that he fights back with all the people. He's like, "Get off me!" and like I'm going, and he just like wiggles away. I love it. He wiggles up the hill, and he's just gone. I love it because I love the quote homemade quality. I mean, it's like a studio making this, but it's like handmade. It's like all these people come together and they make it. And as you said, there's like 2 people in that suit and they're acting. I love all the miniatures. I love the ground caving in. That is probably
my God.
That's
God.
on my notes.
The
I'm so
ground
glad you hit
caving
that.
in, yeah.
Amazing. More than once. It was like so cool.
And like the way that it actually comes apart and the sand like goes in. And that's like what I imagine like if a kaiju had appeared in Los Angeles and the ground opened up in the Santa Monica Mountains. That's exactly what I imagine it would look like. So that was just awesome. And of course the miniatures are so great. Like that's when the movie picks up for me. Like the beginning, it's like kind of like this like melodrama. And that's always how you kind of have to start it to like take care of the characters.
Well, Honda intentionally told his actors to do like a Shakespearean style performance, you know, to treat it like it was Shakespeare, to give it as that kind of intensity,
gravitas,
the gravitas.
Yeah, and I love the miniatures because like when everything just starts of course that bridge sequence is awesome. I'm glad they got everyone off the bridge. I was like kind of worried. I was like, oh my God, there are gonna be people on the bridge. Like I really care about this right now. And I love when it's just like everything's blowing up. Of course, there's a train crash, so I love miniature train crash.
Everything that you want, Honda gives you.
He gave me my train crash, and as you guys said, this movie, it's so tragic.
It's sad in the end. It's a very melancholic ending.
What's our favorite line in there? Hundreds dead, Tokyo in flames, and nothing seems to kill these creatures.
In the end, it's like when they blow up the volcano and like there's the 2 Rodans and one of them is like in the lava. And then the other one, which I assume for some reason is like the male Rodan. I don't know why.
I assumed it was the male too.
I think Mothra is a female. I know that.
Mothra is a female,
but I think all the other kaijus are men.
Man, yeah.
So like
the Rodan that carries on is a man.
So the Rodan, like
male.
he flies down and he's trying to pull out his mate, his like girlfriend or wife or whatever. And my Rodan, they're married now and they have a kid on the way. It's like she's in the lava and she's screaming and flapping her wings and he's trying to pull her out. And she starts lighting on fire, and then he's on her trying to like blow it out. And then he starts lighting on fire, and he knows that he has to fly away and leave her behind. And so he does, and she knows that he has to leave her behind. And then he flies away. Oh my God, I'm going to start crying over a monster movie. It was really sad. And then I think, you know what? You should go destroy that city. Because I might be doing that if like this just happened to me. I woke up, I grew up and these people are attacking me and then all of a sudden they're like exploding bombs in a volcano and I'm just trying to like chill out in this mountain over here. It was really sad.
Yeah, well actually the humans proved to be completely ineffectual. If it wasn't for the Rodans being just captured in despair and killing themselves, there would be no...
It was so sad. It was so sad.
It really was.
And it was...
The Rodans, through despair, they committed suicide. That was the only way to stop them.
Yeah, and then to have them, like, in the lava as the human couple are, like, embracing each other, watching, and kind of understanding, like, oh, that they're both, like, romantic pairs. Well, if I was that Rodan, I'd be, like, taking it out on him next. I'd be like, I'm gonna come and get you and get your wife. So
get your wife, too.
They're gonna turn into, like, a revenge-o-matic all of a sudden.
By the way, they do the one thing that they're constantly afraid of doing by the end of the movie. They're like, oh, we can't set off the volcano.
Right, we can't erupt the volcano.
In the end, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
Like mankind.
Well, no, they go, we'll risk doing the volcano to blow them up. Well, it doesn't blow up the Rodans at all, but it does sure to set the volcano going.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's almost it's not like just the lava got them. It was as if the female Rodan just decided, well, life's not worth living.
Yeah.
And she just
well, he even said in the little
narration,
in the epilogue, narration in the end, it's like, they're drawn like moths to the flame. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Knew that this was the only.
And I said that's Key Luke doing the Master Poe. All right, is doing the amongst many other roles.
Yeah, and also I guess because they're dinosaurs and it's like the primordial lava.
Yeah.
So it's like drawn back to a time of lava. I don't know. It was fun to watch. It was a first time watch for me, I'm pretty sure. Unless like as a kid I was like watching it, but I don't really remember this one. I remember Mothra. Mothra's my favorite.
I don't remember showing you Rodan actually.
Yeah, but Mothra is definitely my favorite. I love Mothra.
Now you need to see Monster Zero, the next appearance of Rodan and Godzilla together.
I know.
That's one of the funnest. One of the absolute funnest.
I love Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of that one. That's not Honda, but that's
I know, but I just
well, not only I have a 16 print of that has the original English "Save the Earth" song,
and I also I just have to point out that Julie has, I don't know if you saw this, Gala, but she's got like a little tiny Rodan
it's so cute.
for good luck here, like a little tiny. I don't know, not even
it's a miniature,
not even an inch tall, like just a little tiny Rodan, like baby Rodan.
Like I said, it's the baby Rodan.
And it comes in a little Godzilla.
Oh, it was probably their kid.
Well,
it's their little baby.
We'll put that on our website
and
in our newsletter.
And again, Leo knows who Rodan is. I gave him a Gamera, a big plastic Gamera, a big plastic Rodan, Godzilla. And told him the names, and he knows Rodan.
You're doing it right, Quentin.
So cool. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a Godzilla in our house too, actually. Yeah. So I watched this on Plex for free without ads. Our other producer, Josh, told me that he watched it on Tubi for free, but with ads. I did pick up a VHS of this for $13 on eBay. Okay. I don't really know what company it is, to be honest, because I was trying to figure out from the pictures because it hasn't arrived yet. Okay, so it had a Paramount logo on it. It had a Gateway logo on it. And then it had a company called Master Sharp. And
I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And I was trying to figure it out, but I hope that when it gets here, you guys can help me correctly identify what company it is, because I was kind of surprised with like the triple logo, and I was trying to figure out like what is going on here. So anyway, that's Rodan.
So good.
Yeah.
Up next is a spy thriller that I've been a big fan of since I discovered it when I first started collecting 16mm prints in the late 90s. It's called The Quiller Memorandum. Here's the deal on this one. This is like one of our first as far as, won't be our last, but it's one of our first as far as screening something like this for the podcast. I thought we had the Quiller Memorandum in the Eddie Brands collection because it was a Fox title and it came out on Key Video. But while it did come out on Key Video, Eddie Brands didn't have it. However, I have a few different copies of the Quiller Memorandum. I actually bought it bootleggy, like from out of one of the ads in the Big Reel when they would just offer up videos of stuff. So I picked up a copy that way. But I also taped it when it played on the Fox channel 10 or 15 years ago. It was on TiVo. All right. So, and they even had the TiVo when we watched it. Even had the little TiVo thing.
Great to see the little TiVo.
It was great to see the little the TiVo thing again. Frankly, this is better quality than the Key Video, for the simple fact that the widescreen is an important part of the framing of the movie. And this version that I taped off of the Fox channel is complete widescreen, and it looked gorgeous.
Also, bootlegs were a big part of video archives. So, so it's normal.
Hey, this isn't even a bootleg. I have every right to tape my television and watch it at home.
That's true.
So this isn't even a bootleg. This is what the fucking machine was made for.
You're protected by law. You're protected by law.
The fucking machine was made to do exactly what I did, and I did it.
You know what's cool? That's my writing. So I recorded that, like, that's so cool. That's like when I was your assistant.
There was a period of time where it was like Julie was my assistant, and then I would take a whole bunch of shit, all right, on the TiVo that I wanted, but I'm not okay with it just sitting on that machine. I wanted hard copies, and by the way, I was right.
Yeah.
Consequently, we were able to watch the Quiller Memorandum as opposed to being buried in a TiVo machine, God knows where. But Roger, why don't you take it away, since we don't have a back of a box to read, of setting up the storyline of the movie?
So I was super excited to see this movie. This is a movie directed by Michael Anderson, who, I mean, I love his work, and especially Logan's Run.
Yeah,
But I love a lot.
I'm an Orca man.
Well, so is Gala. Gala's an Urko woman.
3-1, Roger.
Okay.
Listen,
no, there's nothing wrong with him picking Logan's Run, though.
That's cool, but
Logan's Run strikes harder and deeper into my youth than Orca. This is Michael Anderson's film from 1966, which I had never seen, Quiller Memorandum. And it's with George Segal playing a British intelligence agent sent to Berlin to track down and eliminate a neo-Nazi organization run by Max von Sydow. And it is an espionage thriller that is classy, slick. I mean, the tech credits involved in it. This is British filmmaking and craftsmanship at its highest.
Yeah. And they're doing the genre that is like the hottest British genre that there is at the time, espionage, secret agent movies.
Yeah. And I understand Michael Anderson was really tough on everyone making this movie because he had a very specific idea on, the kind of movie he wanted to make. And so he pushed everyone to excellence. And I think of those people, John Barry, he apparently threw away his first score for the film and had him rescore the movie to what is probably one of John Barry's best scores. It's incredible. It's such a beautiful score.
It's my favorite non-Bond score of John Barry.
It uses harpsichord in a way that kind of conjures up zither music, which immediately, as Quentin kind of gave me a little preamble of the movie, it's like, this is a movie that kind of, thinks it's The Third Man or something.
Yeah, I do feel that the film, it wants to take the secret agent film story that they had with the Harry Palmer Impress files and the Bonds and the Matt Helms and the Flints and the Bulldog Drummonds, but not some dry ass John le Carre thing. Quiller is a secret agent. It's a series of secret agent novels, so it's legit. It's a legit addition to the secret agent canon, even as far as its literary source is concerned. They wanted to do it, but they wanted to do the hip version, what Hawks and Faulkner did with The Big Sleep. Hawks, Faulkner, and Lee Brackett, what they did with The Big Sleep. And what Carol Reed and Graham Greene did with The Third Man is obviously what Michael Anderson is trying to do with Adam Hall's Quiller Memorandum, and then by getting in cahoots with Harold Pinter.
Yeah.
Who outclasses this whole project by a mile by getting him to do the screenplay adaptation of this like action film spy thriller.
Apparently Michael Anderson felt that Pinter stuff was too talky. He wanted more cinema. He wanted more visuals. That's what I've heard. I find that a little hard to believe because the movie dedicates it gives itself to those talky moments. It loves those moments.
I think it completely does, but then it also zips around fucking Berlin like nobody's business. It zips around. You can tell the symbiotic connection to The Third Man by the way they commit to shooting Cold War Berlin.
Yeah.
There's an authenticity to the way they shoot the Berlin landmarks, to the way they deal with the German actors.
And how they contrast old Germany with new Germany. Old Germany is lots of, kind of filigree and design and things like, and then new Germany is these kind of brutalist Albert Speer-like constructions.
Yeah, okay, but then they also they do that, but they also have fun with it, like by having Alec Guinness's character Paul, his introduction scene, is where they built for the Munich Olympics. 100,000 people here. Can you imagine 100,000 people screaming? Must be quite noisy. And then you hear in the background, Segal!
They dial it in. They dial it in.
It's just like a little bit in the background there.
That scene is, to me, when I suddenly understood the film. Yeah. And it just feels like all Pinter.
Yeah.
That's Harold Pinter shining bright right there. Because he's Quiller who's meant to be British, meant to be actually originally. I think it was Richard Harris originally, right?
I'm not sure about that, but I've read the books. The character is obviously British. He works for MI5. It doesn't make any sense that he's this Jewish American smart aleck, Jewish American New York smart aleck, all right? Which nobody refers to the fact that like he's so obviously Jewish and like, oh, let's send him undercover to break the only person, the neo-Nazis.
And the only person really making any kind of reference to that, and it's always subtle, is the director, Michael Anderson. He's the one who's it's like there's always this little joke, and there's little tiny things that they say like, oh, well, he's been working in the Middle East. And I got the feeling as I was watching it, I just filled it in on my own. They're like, well, he's like working with the Mossad, or he is Mossad, or he's part of this kind of new Europe that's coming together. That's a conglomeration of NATO affiliates.
It was actually really funny because you were able to watch the film, and the way you can add like a gay subtext, especially to films from the 50s and the 60s, and it can be a lot of fun. You could add a Semitic subtext, all right, to this movie that the movie never acknowledges.
You can't ignore it. You can't ignore his relationship between him and the teacher, and her attraction, this German teacher, and her attraction to him.
Your take on it, all right, is actually Michael Anderson isn't ignoring it. It's just committing to subtext.
He's committing it completely to subtext, and he's subtly hinting at it throughout. Because the movie is as much about male-female relationships and male-male relationships than it is about all the Jewish subtext that's going on, which I think is just natural that you're shooting a movie in Berlin, and you've got all these neo-Nazis running around still. It's smart to do that. It's better than just having it be Richard Harris, for example. And I love Richard Harris, as you know.
We're playing by the rules of a standard secret agent movie, but we're trying to be more wise guy than that. We know it's a secret agent movie, and we're doing a hip riff on it. So it kind of knows what it is all the time. There's quotes around the whole damn movie. And George Segal goes a long way to putting quotes around the whole movie, as opposed to casting a British guy. As he's doing the movie, you can see George Segal, the actor, choosing the role, playing the role.
That's in my notes. Like, George Segal makes choices. I don't know. I read some of the old reviews of the Quiller Memorandum, and George Segal gets beat up, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what movie did you watch? Do you not understand? Like, he's made choices in this. It's different than a bad performance. He made choices. Maybe you don't like his choice, but I mean, like the New York Times. Can I read this?
Totally.
Like, if you've got any spying to be done in Berlin, don't send George Segal to do the job. Or rather, don't send the pudding-headed fellow that Mr. Segal plays in the Quiller Memorandum. And then He's the sort of secret agent who, on being assigned to snoop around Berlin in search of the hidden headquarters of a neo-Nazi group, goes straight to the nearest pretty female. And it's just like, it cut to something else. Who would be assigned to one dumb American spy? This whole task. Why would you assign it to one dumb American
Quiller.
Spy? Because he's Quiller.
Because he's Quiller.
Why would you not? He says it. He even says it at the beginning of the movie. Like, no, I'm going to go in there and rattle the cages. I want them to know I'm here. He's not trying to be some suave American.
The reason they haven't come to me yet is because they don't know about me yet. So I got to get them to know about me.
Well, one of the things that's in the story, and it's a trait of Quiller's character from having read 3 different books of him, is if the idea is I need to rattle the cage, they're lighting low, so I need them to reveal themselves, show themselves, that when they're lying low and you need to bring them out, let them capture you. Well, walk into the trap. Walk into the trap.
And by the way,
let them capture you. That is one of Quiller's methods, and that's what he does in this movie.
The other way didn't work. The other 2 spies got killed. So
one of the unique aspects of the way the spies work in the Quiller novels is when they send Quiller on a mission, whether it's in Cambodia or East Berlin or West Berlin or Buenos Aires, wherever the hell it is, they always send 2 agents. There's the agent in the field, which is Quiller. And then there's his number 2, which is basically his boss. And he's running the agent. So it's like the boss's job, who's running the agent, to get a secure little office, basically, just to get a secure place.
A safe house.
And this is the safe house. This is the safe house. And obviously Quiller can make a lot of decisions on his own, but he's got to just keep getting together with this guy. And so he's not completely on his own. He is still getting directives from the front office, and he's still getting directives from this guy. So he's not just completely on his own. He's being run.
Is Paul taking the Alec Guinness character taking his sort of?
They don't literally do it where he's just in Berlin all on his own and nobody knows what's going on. That's why he's meeting him in public. But Paul is more or less supposed to be that character.
Right. They distilled it down to that. They made it more like everything
just
else.
A guy who's sending him on his mission, all right, as opposed to the unique aspect that's in the Quiller situation. And and Quiller can work with somebody that he's worked with before that he thinks the guy's fantastic, or he can work with somebody he thinks is a fucking asshole.
Yeah, these days it would be somebody like on a headset talking to him, and it's like, go to the door to your left, and telling, they'd be communicating with him.
No, it's like
a second.
I was always taken with this script because I thought it was just really, 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 really clever. And watching it again with you, as a matter of fact, I was like, hey, maybe the Quiller Memorandum could be a good one. And so before you guys, I could have switched it out to something else. But before you guys came down, I put it on. I watched about 15 minutes of it. And I go, no, this is terrific. Let's watch it. So we watched it and we all really had a good time. I have to say, though, having not seen it for a while, I was a little less enthused. The first half is really good. All right. The first half is just as terrific as I remember it being. I think the second half, it's not as clever. At a certain point, Harold Pinter is just wrapping it up. He's doing a fairly good job. It doesn't just play like a wise guy version of a secret agent story. It plays like a secret agent story, and the action beats work in it. But, it creates a level of cleverness and wordplay that it doesn't quite keep up. When you see Alec Guinness show up a couple more times, he never adds to that first impression of that first scene. You're waiting for it. It's all exciting.
I almost disagree with you because two of my favorite scenes involve food. And the second one is when Alec Guinness and George Segal, Quiller, are having their little cat and mouse at the cafe. And he uses like 2 muffins.
Okay, well, that's pretty good. Okay, look, I will admit.
And you're the nut in the middle.
Exactly.
You're the peanut in the middle.
He plops off a little nut or something from the 2 muffins.
In the gap. You're in the gap.
And you're in the gap. And at the end...
It's actually a really...
He pops that nut or raisin or whatever it is into
it's a raisin,
he eats Quiller in the end.
You're right.
That's actually a wonderful scene. That's a really fun scene.
It's one of my favorite scenes.
Okay, you're right. Okay.
And the whole idea behind that scene is like, there's two parties that are in these 2 muffins. They're in the fog. Neither can see each other. You are in the middle. You can see when you move this way or this way, more of this one and less of that one, but we can never see each other.
Yeah. And it's how to keep the Cold War cold.
How to keep the Cold War cold.
Don't expose our headquarters while you're trying to find their headquarters.
No, I forgot about that.
And it's another great gay subtext scene.
That's
about,
That's true.
2 men trying to meet each other, and
I do think though that after Max von Sydow's magnificent introduction scene, that every time you see him doing another variation on the interrogation, it just like kind of loses a little luster for the character. And then at the end, when it turns out like, okay, no, we just called the cops and we just rounded them off.
now that we know where the place is.
Well, now we know where the place is. Okay, should they still be there? Yeah, I think they're still there. Okay, well, we'll just wrap them up. Hey, they got them all. Hey, great. But that's the way it ends.
One of the reasons the movie feels more flagging toward the end is I think Quiller is flagging by the end. He's become exhausted, like he hasn't slept. He's exhausted. He's been drugged. He's more shabby. He's been beaten up. He's like going around and he's tired of it all. And by the end, he's literally dragging his feet from place to place, exhausted. And the way George Segal is kind of delivering the dialogue is in that kind of, smart alecky, that New York kind of way.
Well, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, but that points out part of my problem with the second half of the story is like the second half of the story really tries to make a big deal that George Segal is recreating the steps of the first agent that we see murdered, but to no particular effect that makes any sense. Yeah. Right? They either make sense in the through line of the story or make sense in a literary or dramatic kind of way. In fact, it was kind of funny, the image of Quiller just wandering around and all the agents covering him. But you're like, is this a fucking idea? All right, is this the idea? This is kind of a crazy idea. And then he escapes, and they go, oh well, God, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? All right, he escapes, and then he just calls the cops, and then they arrest everybody, and that's it.
So Quentin, have you tried this cigarette?
Oh, no, I haven't tried that cigarette. Do you think that cigarette will be too mild? Is that cigarette milder?
Oh, this cigarette is a little bit less mild than you're used to. Try my brand. My brand is different.
Okay, I will try your brand.
You'll find it smooth and more thickly packed.
Well, one of the things like...
it's almost like that. Like the kind of this code that the agents use is almost like two guys hooking up.
Is it rougher? Is it rougher than other brands? It's rougher than some other brands.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
rougher.
yes.
Is it
Yes.
rougher? That's right. That's right.
Is it milder than my brand? It's milder than some other
Every
brand.
time he had an opportunity to meet with another agent and go through that routine, I loved it.
No.
I loved it. I couldn't get enough of that. I was like, the more agents you have to bump into and offer cigarettes to and cuddle up with, the better.
No, that's the gift that just keeps on giving throughout the entire
It was.
film.
And what was the scene where they almost like, you're like, oh my God, they're going to kiss.
Yeah,
They got so
Well,
close.
they got really close.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, here, try my cigarette. The tobacco smells nice.
And we're back, and we're joined by Gala Raquel Avery. How you doing, Gala?
Okay, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way really quick. I watched this on YouTube, and I always like to read the comments on YouTube because
Did you have it widescreen on YouTube? I'm sorry to interrupt.
you know what? I don't think it was widescreen on YouTube. I think it was just like
Because Erwin Miller, the guy who shot The Red Shoes, shot this, and the widescreen is
Honestly,
gorgeous, and the lighting is beautiful.
it looked like a VHS rip.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's what it was. But I like to read
So you got to hunt down Quentin's bootleg, his TiVo bootleg.
Gotta just like reach across the cable and just. So I like to read the YouTube comments, and one read, "This is my favorite spy movie. It is also Quentin Tarantino's favorite spy movie." I was like, okay, well, thanks for letting me know.
I think I made a big deal. I don't remember for calling it my favorite spy movie. I might have used that kind of hyperbole. Maybe I felt it at the time. But I did give it a big, when I discovered it on 16 millimeter, that was back when I was doing the Austin Film Fest. Once
QT Fest.
Yeah,
QT
QT
Fest.
Fest. Once every year and a half or every 2 years, I go to Austin. I would bring the 16 and the 35 prints I discovered in the meantime that are like, oh, these are really terrific. I have to show these.
I got the new shit. I got the new shit.
And the Quiller Memorandum was a big one.
So it's definitely like a slow burn spy thriller. Like it definitely is not James Bond. And in some ways, I actually really appreciate it.
Although it has a score like a James Bond
Well,
movie.
and speaking of the score, it's actually a flexitone that they use to
really?
get that, which is like, I don't know if you've ever seen a flexitone before, but it's like this piece of metal and it goes, and then like the ball hits the piece of metal. So I thought that was interesting because I've never really heard a flexitone being used before.
But it recalls The Third Man and the harpsichord.
Well, I mean, what the other thing that it also recalls, Robert Altman has always gotten this special credit seemingly he deserved for having the neat idea in The Long Goodbye that every piece of score in the film is just another alliteration of the theme of The Long Goodbye. Whether it's like a guy in a piano bar playing
the Muzak in the supermarket.
The Muzak in the supermarket or whatever. And look, he's the one that really did it. But you can see in this movie the precursor to that idea is exactly in the tone of what John Barry is trying to do. So you have their alliteration of the third man thing. Wah, 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 wah. Then you have the beautiful symphony version of the John Barry score playing.
Yeah,
and then he walks into a pub, and then there's Matt Monroe, which is like the British version of Andy Williams. Wednesday's child is a child
I forgot about that.
of woe. Wednesday's child knows what I should know. By the time you hear it being crooned by Matt Monroe of all people, it's like, no, this is like literally a joke. This is the Long Goodbye joke done earlier.
So I haven't actually seen this other movie, but a lot of people were comparing this to the Ipcris File, which is the Sidney J. Furie movie. Would you say that these are like two like similar?
Yeah, they're very similar in their like, smart aleckness. All right, and then and their literary descendants.
Also, 66 is the height of the Cold War, and so they're Hollywood and England, and everybody's making these kind of spy films.
The Ipcris File is based on a Len Deighton novel. All right, Harry Palmer is the character. They did 3 Harry Palmer movies. You're a big fan of the Ken Russell one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I love the Ken Russell one.
Yeah,
I love Ken Russell.
Yeah, and so this falls in the same category.
At the that scene where Alex Guinness and Pol and they first meet, and he's like explaining the mission.
Pol.
P-O-L.
Like Pol Pot, almost, which is kind of a weird.
Pol. Pol. P-O-L. Pol.
And I love how he goes through like what happened to that guy. Oh, do you know him? Well, he's dead. Okay, well, do you know this guy? Well, he's also dead. And then they do the whole cigarette, and I love that cigarette thing so much.
Yeah.
And then I love that he's just walking around eating a sandwich.
See, more
it's
food.
All about food.
It's all about food. And I mean, you know me, I love food. I love food in movies. I see food in movies, I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, literally, if there's a buffet in a movie, Gala's like, oh, I like that movie. It had a buffet in it.
I know, I started getting hungry, like watching him eat his sandwich.
Actually, Alec Guinness is almost kind of giving a Jack Benny almost like impersonation. You know, he's kind of doing a Jack Benny kind of character. You can see Jack Benny playing that character.
Yeah, actually, you could.
Gala, did you notice the scene where they're in London? That the 2 MI5 guys are talking and they're eating their lunch.
George Sanders and Robert Hutton.
Exactly. So they're eating, but they use this, and I love when British actors do this wonderfully. I love when they find a prop and they just use it as an anchor. So their anchor is this salt shaker. So George Sanders takes the salt shaker and he like sprinkles it, and then the other guy, Robert Fleming, takes it and he doesn't shake the salt. He like pours it onto the edge of
not
his
to be
side.
outdone.
Yeah, he pours it onto the edge, then sets it, then he's cutting into his pheasant, and then, he's getting a little mashed potatoes, and then he dips it. Almost like the salt is a sauce, and then he dips it, and then he eats. And they're both so... The actors are wonderful.
Yeah. They're focused on their food entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then this witty dialogue from Pinter. I mean, it's just it's wonderful. But the food, I'm with you.
What is that lunch?
Salt stood out, and it's one of my favorite things.
What is that you're eating for lunch? It's pheasant. Is it any good? Yes, it's quite good. Yes, that would be quite good, wouldn't it?
Yes, it suits me.
Is your pheasant rougher than any other pheasant? I mean, the thing is that I wasn't even thinking about the gay subtext, surprisingly, because normally like my dad and my brain are connected, and like that's where I'm going also. But it's like the whole oral fixation. It's eating and cigarettes.
Yeah.
And it's like that's basically what it is. They're constantly eating and they're constantly smoking, or not smoking the cigarette, but offering the cigarette to each other as a form of code.
Yeah, they're constantly putting cigarettes to their lips.
Well, but my favorites,
rolling them around a little.
My favorite cigarette moment, though, is when he gets in the car and then the agent gets in and offers him one, and he's like, God, like, damn it. Like, come on, I know who you are and you know who I am. Like, do we have to go through this whole thing? And then it's like a fine. He has to go through the entire thing. And then at the end, he puts a cigarette in his mouth, he lights it, and then he's like, well, do you want one of mine? And he's like, well, I don't smoke. And he just like throws his cigarette out the window, and he's just so sick of it, like having to go through this whole thing over and over and over again.
There's something that we haven't talked about, and that is the official last scene in the movie. And it's a scene between George Segal and Senta Berger, who's, for all intents and purposes, the female lead in the movie. And I've always been a big Senta Berger fan, and I especially like her in spy movies. She's in the one of the Man from U.N.C.L.E. movies, and she's just fun in all these things.
And she plays a school teacher.
Yeah, and she plays a school teacher for elementary school kids in Berlin. There's a bittersweet quality to their final scene together that does harken back to a more dramatically played out sequence, the way The Third Man ends with that final shot of Joseph Cotten and Vali together. This scene is really strong. This scene has a subtext that is not there throughout the rest of the movie, or the subtext almost becomes text. It becomes so important. It's just a really, really strong scene, and it makes its points. Then when the John Barry music, which has been this recurring theme, is brought back in, it's really killer. It brings the movie to a real close. And it has this classic final shot that just kind of makes the whole thing so exquisite. So when I'm watching it the other day, and I'm seeing that really terrific ending. I'm like, well, where the fuck has this movie been for the last 45 fucking minutes? You're knocking it out with this really wonderful last scene, but this is the last scene of a much better movie than the one that we've been watching. This is the last scene of a classic, and we hadn't quite get that.
Well, like you said, I mean, a movie like this, a lot of it is about, the mechanics of the wrap up. And it's almost like Michael Anderson who's a sociologist, filmmaker. I mean, this is a guy who makes movies, that he feels like he's doing something more than just the entertainment part. Logan's Run is obviously about more than just, the entertainment value of it.
Yeah. And so is Orca.
Just
so we know.
Less so with 1984. That's
I'm on with Gala. On
his
that.
Edmund O'Brien 1984, a little less so. He's a little bit more on the point, but he's always thinking about
even Murder by Phone.
And there was a shot in this that made me super excited. As you know, and it was like, he's so much of this movie is about old Berlin, new Berlin, old Germany, the new Germany. What is the difference between the two? And what is it transforming into? And what is it becoming? And one of his final things is they do this kind of, everything's kind of wrapping up in the end. And he's with Pol in their little hideout, which is an empty floor of an office building at this point. And they do the sweeping vista of Berlin so that we can see the literal clash between the new buildings and the old buildings, the new modernism versus the old filigree buildings. And the building they show is the Mercedes building. It's a giant, glass and steel structure rising out of Berlin with a huge Mercedes logo, on top of it, like practically rotating. And then the camera kind of pulls back a little bit and we come in through the window of the office building we're in, and George Segal is standing there and he's leaning his right hand up against the window. And as it backs up from the Mercedes building, we see he's doing a Nazi salute.
Yeah.
Michael Anderson has figured out a way to frame it so that he's literally got George Segal, his Mossad guy, is now, let's just call him leaning at this point, for reasons that may not be entirely in his control. He's become confused. He's become muddled by the end of the movie. He's become tired. He's become, he's changed by the end of the film, I think is what Michael Anderson is trying. He's more interested in that.
I agree.
He's more interested in Quiller and what is Quiller becoming and what is Germany becoming. He's more interested in the thematics of the movie than he is about the actual let's wrap all this shit up.
Okay, but we haven't talked about the other great dialogue scene, along with the cigarette back and forth, and along with the introduction of Pol, is the first big scene between Senteberger and George Segal. And it's like the one satiric scene where it's the one scene where George Segal is actually able to be the architect of his own satire in the piece. And that's where he tells the story. It's funny that you say that, because I was just hanging around the other day and I had a conversation with this guy, and this guy was talking about the difference between the old Germany and the new Germany. I thought that was really interesting, that whole kind of, this is almost like a Jack Benny rant he's doing on himself. So that was kind of interesting about the whole thing of the new Germany and the old Germany. And she goes, that's what this man was saying. This man was just saying exactly that. He was saying that these new versions of the Nazis, they don't wear swastikas. No, this man was telling me that they
look like everyone else.
They look like everyone else, and they just hide in, so they're harder to spot. And every alliteration he has of this man, that's what this man was telling me. He was telling me exactly that.
Well, and that's the genius that George Segal brings to this movie. Those little.
Well, that's what he gets. Like I said, that's when he gets to be the architect of his own satire. He's the one telling the joke in that sequence, and he kills it. He kills it.
And how kind of tongue in cheek he's taking everything, all the goofiness that's going on around him, all these neo-Nazis running around and everything. How he's like, I don't speak a lick of German, or he's playing it so stupid along the way, and so like I'm a magazine reporter.
Yeah, when Slugworth shows up.
I love
Gunther Meisner.
Yeah, whenever Slugworth shows up in a movie, I'm happy.
Actually, I think two other Willy Wonka actors show up uncredited.
Oh, if you're making a movie in Berlin, you're going to get all the Willy Wonka actors.
All over the place in the background. There is a little bit of a controversy about one of the scenes in this movie that I found when people are debating it online, apparently, is when he calls Inga on the phone after he's been interrogated. Is she alone in bed? Because he asks her, "Are you alone?" And she just says, "I'm sleeping." Do you think that when he wakes Inga up on the phone that she is alone?
She's a deviant German, yes. No.
She's not alone.
Deviant German.
The thing is, I don't think she's alone. I think she's in bed with someone. Like, they really make sure to, like, frame it so that it's not, and she doesn't want to speak, and she just wants
in a widescreen movie, to be able to frame someone out in a tight bed scene.
So even in the widescreen, it's framed out. Because I think I was watching...
It's framed out, but like she's very deflecting about I'm busy and I'm it's
she wouldn't
late.
let him come over, so she said tomorrow.
Yeah.
I also think there's one other thing if you want to have subtextual fun on this piece, maybe more the second time you see it than the first time, is I think it's very much open for you to decide when you want when it comes to when George Segal figures everything out.
Yeah.
I think if you have it that he figures it out much, much earlier, you're watching a different movie. And that movie completely works. Nothing will contradict your feelings about that. Or if you have him figure it out a little bit later, it's the same thing. Or if he doesn't figure it out until everyone's captured, well, then that's its own movie. But all three movies kind of work.
So it's kind of like,
contradicts itself.
When do you figure it out in your own head, and does he figure it out at the same time as you?
Yeah, because it's a different movie if he figures it out really, really early on, but yet it could completely work that way.
The version you saw, did it have subtitles?
No.
That's great. Okay, so there are
Not that I
scenes
remember.
in German in this movie that have no subtitles.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Intentionally.
Yeah.
And it works great. And maybe I don't want to give this away, but the moment where suddenly George Segal starts speaking German, it's great.
No, that's a great scene.
It's a great moment.
Another proof that he's not a bumbling spy.
No, he's not. He's not.
No. When we were talking, I just realized that George Segal went from Edward Albee, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, to Harold Pinter, which I thought was really cool. And I'm going to say George Segal is such a super cool guy that when you program The Long Goodbye and The Blackbird at the New Beverly in January of 2019, Elliot Gould came to see The Long Goodbye. He didn't do a Q&A and everything. He just wanted to watch it. But he told us that George Segal was driving by Beverly Boulevard and saw The Long Goodbye and The Blackbird marquee, and that he stopped, took a picture of the marquee, and texted it to Elliot Gould.
Wow.
I love George Segal.
Well, and let's also just say he does not have pudding hair. He has great hair. George Segal's got great hair in this movie. I just want to say.
Yeah. I actually I met George Segal a couple times, but one time I met him he was part of that little gang that had breakfast every morning, had coffee every morning at this farmer's market with Paul Mazursky.
Yeah, the Mazursky gang.
The Mazursky gang. Yeah. And so I was invited once, and we had just had a screening at the New Beverly of Bloom and Love and Bob and Carol, Ted and Alice. And there's George Segal in his jogging outfit, and he's got his coffee, and he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you." And I go, "Yes, we just had a screening of Bloom and Love and Bob and Carol." He goes, "Which one played better?" I go, "Actually, Bloom and Love." He goes, "Of course it did."
I watched this on YouTube. I know there's a DVD out there floating around somewhere.
Yes, and I also think there's a key video out there floating.
Yes, which is actually what I picked up from eBay for $6.
That's a deal.
I know, that's a deal for a key video, but I have to, I love key video. It's probably my favorite box because of the rainbow, and I find it really uniform, but the frame that they choose for the poster on the front with the rainbow, it looks bad.
No, it's kind of generic. It's just a picture of Alec Guinness and George Segal during the exposition scene, and also the key video colors are a little weird.
Yeah,
they're a little off.
I actually thought it was
like the blue style. This is like the brown style.
Yeah, I thought it was like a fake VHS. To be honest, I looked at it, I was like, "What is this?" Like the way the rainbow
I don't like
wraps.
the brown style key videos. I like the blue base.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know.
Did brown come before blue, or did blue come before brown?
Blue was always the thing. They just monkeyed around every once in a while.
It's bad to monkey with what works.
Okay, and we're back, and it's time for our third movie. I wanted to gear one movie directly towards Julie. This was definitely the one to do it with, but it's a little unique insofar as we actually don't have a video cassette of it. We watched the 16 print of it. So we're breaking our format slightly. Now, Julie is she's a big fan of lots of stuff. But one of the things that she's been a big fan of ever since I knew her, and she has different toys and different things, is she's a big fan of the Planet of the Apes series.
Quentin, you must review like ape.
I'll do General Urko soon enough. Well, let me get there.
I have Urko's review.
And so the thing about it is, but rather than do one of the 5 movies, and Roger, me, and myself and Gala just watched the recut of the R-rated version of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes just recently. We just watched that ourselves. But I wanted to watch one of the other 5 ape movies. Other 5 ape movies, some of you ask out there, what other 5 ape movies? Well, I'll tell you. Before VHS, if you were watching movies, you either saw them at the theaters or you watched them on television. And yeah, we all watched stuff that played on network television. I was always a big fan of the ABC Sunday night movie. But most of us, when we watched movies, we watched them on local television. We watched them on the syndication packages on local TV. And, whether that's KTLA Channel 5 out here in Los Angeles, or KHJ Channel 9, or KCET Channel 13, or KTTV Channel 11, which they always had all the MGM movies. That's why they had all the movie greats movies. And where, like, Channel 5 always had the Universal Monster movies. Channel 9 had a bunch of AIP movies. I'm naming Los Angeles stations, but if you're in Cleveland, you have the Cleveland stations. If you're in what part of Tennessee you're on, you have the local stations out there. And the way all those local stations would show movies is those local stations would buy a syndication TV package that people were offering up of could be 5 titles, it could be 12 titles, it could be 37 titles. And they had they were able to show those movies for a period of usually a couple of years. Now, one of the things that they would do to beef up these packages is they had a whole series of movies where they took a canceled TV show and either took a 2-part episode and cut it together like it was a feature film, or they just took 2 random episodes and cut them together with maybe a thing in the middle, maybe that tied them together. And these played all throughout the 70s and the 80s. We watched one when we're on our Susan George kick. We watched 2 episodes of The Persuaders. Yeah. Put together as Mission to Monte Carlo. All right. Yeah. That was we wanted to watch another Susan George movie, and we picked that one. And one of the things that reason they do these is these local TV stations, if they had enough movies to make a Burt Reynolds week, then they could have a Burt Reynolds week. But then they took all the episodes of Dan August, put them together, made movies out of them, so now anyone could get a Burt Reynolds week. Well, turns out that one of the biggest weeks that you could ever have at your local TV station is if you own the 5 Planet of the Apes movies from Fox. And they would have an all-ape week, that week on their Channel 5 movie theater, and it was a smash. And it would be one of the highest grossing weeks you could take on network television.
Best week is Ape Week.
So, since their Ape Weeks were so fantastic, they went to the TV series that they did, the short-lived TV series that came out in the early 70s, around 73. 74. And then they just took 2 random episodes and then made 5 movies out of it, so you could make a second Ape Week on your, for your movie show on your local station. And they gave them crazy, crazy titles. All right. So the one that we watch is I have a 16mm print of Treachery and Greed on the Planet of the Apes. Okay. There's even one of these, an even better title. Life, Love, and Pursuit of the Planet of the Apes. Life, Love, Liberty, and the Pursuit of the Planet of the Apes. Yep. So, Julie, what did you think of it? Had you ever seen that one before?
I had seen that one before, and
have you seen the movie or just seen the episodes?
No, I had seen the movie. So, and part of the New Beverly collection too, which is your collection. Obviously, we have 2 more movies. So we actually have Forgotten City of the Planet of the Apes and Farewell to the Planet of the Apes. Should you want to see them?
Yeah, I think we do.
Good.
Yeah. So it's interesting, like you had mentioned, short-lived Planet of the Apes TV series. There's only 14 episodes, so they got 5 TV movies. These aired in 1981, so there was some time between it. And the movies, they're not in chronological order of episodes or anything like that. So we saw episode 9, which is the horse race. That was the first kind of episode. And then it just kind of seamlessly, cuts to
hardly seamlessly. It was like a hard scissor cut, and all of a sudden they're in trouble again. Yeah, they're hiding in the.
Yeah, they're hiding. Yeah, from the vantage point. But I'm like, oh, wait, is this
in the episode they were like, "Hey guys, how you doing? Hey, hey, here comes the gorillas hiding in the roof."
So, and that was called the Tyrant. So the second episode. So I think they're terrific. I think the Planet of the Apes is often underrated, and we have 3 stars. 2 astronauts, one played by James Naughton, he plays Peter, and the other by Ron Hopper, he plays Alan. And then, of course, we have Roddy McDowall
back
playing.
Yes.
Yes. And he's playing Galen, who is actually an assistant to Zaius, who unfortunately gets into trouble, and he becomes a fugitive with the 2 astronauts. So that's the kind of the setup, and that's the episodes that you will see.
Well, it was funny as we were watching it. Roger actually goes, because Roger wasn't familiar with the TV series, and
I was living out of the country at the time and in South America. And
so we're sitting there,
missed it somehow.
So we're sitting there watching it, and Roger goes, "Okay, well, is there an objective to these guys? Is there something that they're trying to do?" And I don't think there is anything they're trying to do. The spaceship is kaput. So they're just trying to not be captured by the apes.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, the episodes that I remember, the pilot episode, which is just the Ersatz remake of the first movie. But the one episode that I really, really remember is the William Smith episode.
Where you're a big William Smith fan.
Yeah. Well, that's a show perfect for him, because that's where they're raising humans to be gladiators. And William Smith is like the head gladiator.
The old gladiator.
Yeah, but his son is Mark Beastmaster Singer, and so they're raising him to be a gladiator, and it was it was great. So I gave my son Leo a vintage Planet of the Apes figure. I think the figure that I gave him is like the gorilla general character that James Gregory plays in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I think that's the character that he officially is. But, they were never consistent with the gorilla chief. It was always somebody different. So, for instance, Claude Akins is like General Aldo, all right, in battle. The general character that's on the TV series is the name that stuck in my head, which was General Urko. And so I taught that to Leo. And General Urko has become his favorite character of even more than the Avengers. And he loves the Avengers. He loves the
Apes better than Avengers.
Yeah, well, that's what General Urko says. The reason he likes him is, I think he likes the bad guy quality about him. But then, I'm just, I give him the General Urko voice. And General Urko, he's always just ranting and raving at the other toys because they're not all gorilla toys. What is with these stupid dinosaurs with these lizard brains, the brains of a peanut, and these dumb superheroes and that dumb green guy. Oh no, you need gorillas. You need more gorilla toys. The only good human is a dead human. It doesn't call Leo Leo. He refers to him as little human. And Leo loves him. My wife has a suspicion that, I think he also just likes saying General Urko's name. I think it's a combination, though. It's like, okay, I think, he likes playing with me. He likes the fact that I do the voice and I commit to it very well. But also, I think he knows that I like doing it. So he's trying to encourage me to do it more by saying that he likes something that I like. I think it's all 3 can be true. I think all 3 are true. So anyway, it was a blast watching it because General Urko had a lot to do in both episodes. And one, I didn't realize how he's a tyrant. He's a tyrant to the other gorillas. He makes them bet everything they have, on losing races. And of course I'm going to win. He's just he's a corrupt bastard, and he's enjoys every second of it. But General Urko is a main character. It's he's a star in the Tarantino house in Tel Aviv. And so to say the name said constantly, to see him acting out entire scenarios, it just did my heart good. I can't wait to watch this with Leo. I cannot wait to watch Treachery and Greed on the Planet of the Apes with Leo. And in this, he's played by Mark Leonard, who you remember is the guy who played Spock's father on the original Star Trek shows, but who steals the show, actually. And by the way, the 2 astronauts are not just any old guys. Okay, so Ron Harper, the last time he showed up in anything was The Soldier, the James Glickenhaus movie that he did after The Exterminator. And he was the guy, I remember he's sitting at the desk and he turns on the lamp and it blows up. That was the last time I think he showed up in something. But before that, he was the star of Garrison's Gorillas. Not to be confused with another Planet of the Apes story.
But gorillas still!
Yeah, he's like, still gorillas in the name! That's okay! Look at those gorillas in the name! That was the follow-up show that the Somer Productions, the company that did Combat, when they were ready to, okay, we're enough with Combat, we're going to push Garrison's Gorillas. And it's about a bunch of guys fighting in France, Americans fighting in France, and but they're dressed like French civilians. The thing about Garrison's Gorillas is very similar to Inglourious Bastards. It's the closest thing to Inglourious Bastards, the TV show, that there is. And Bong Joon-ho even told me that. Because Bong Joon-ho was like, oh yeah, I used to really love this show called Garrison's Gorillas that they used to play. They wouldn't play it on our television, but they'd play it on the army base television. And every once in a while I was able to get their signal. And there was this thing called Garrison's Gorillas. And so he's talking about growing up and that was his favorite TV show. I go, well, you know, frankly, the format of Garrison's Gorillas is kind of similar to the format of Inglourious Bastards. And he goes, I thought that. When I'm watching Inglourious Bastards, I go, this is kind of like Garrison's Gorillas. Anyway, so Rod Harper was the star of that. And James Naughton is not just any old schmo. He is the older brother of David Making It Naughton.
Yeah, I'm a pepper.
David, I'm a pepper Naughton.
And James Naughton was classically trained, did a lot of theater, graduated from Yale.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he plays the suitor in Paul Newman's 80s directed version of The Glass Menagerie.
Yep.
But who steals Treachery and Greed in the Planet of the Apes is John Hoyt playing the tyrant gorilla in part 2. He's so good. He's so good at it. And I like Mark Leonard and I like General Urko. I go, oh, this guy's even better. He's killing it. The makeup they did for that show is kind of fantastic because it was interesting how sometimes they're just wearing a beautifully blended mask. But it was really strange how you could kind of tell what the actor looked like on the other side of the mask. I mean,
the eyes come through.
It's bizarre how the different shapes of the faces of the different actors molded around the faces of the mask. And how it never looked like a generic mask. They started just bleeding into the features of the actual characters. And I mean, even, the guards that would just show up, all right, and, have like, a few different lines. There was a humanity to them. There was a humanity to their line readings, and there was a humanity to the way that, like, you saw the actor underneath the mask in a strange way.
I will review as Ape. As you should too.
Okay.
Only Ape
can review Ape.
Can review Ape.
Only Ape can criticize Ape.
Here is review. Only good movie is Ape movie. Only good television is Ape television. Good enough to make movie out of 2 episodes. Director Jack Starlett, not bad human. Jack Starlett, honorary Ape. Direct good Ape movie. Even human movie, Race with the Devil, good. But if with apes, then Race with the Devil, better movie. Devil is human creation. Most feared human to apes. Good movie. Director Ralph Senensky, also not bad human. Make good human television. Apes love Star Trek. Apes love Mission Impossible.
And you did a lot of Dan August, too.
Apes love Dan August. Apes love Twilight Zone. Apes love Wild Wild West. Ape not like Walton so much. Too human for Ape. Problem with movie and series are the humans! Like watching Starsky and Hutch on Planet of the Apes. Need more apes, less humans. Too much human talking. Too much human freedom. Roddy McDowell as Galen, good, but still wimpy chimpanzee. More gorilla! More Urko needed! Urko have great actor of Star Trek. Not human, but Vulcan. Mark Leonard, great ape. Credit sequence, good. worthy of apes. John Chambers makeup of apes, good makeup, best makeup. John Chambers, great ape.
Yes.
B for banana.
It's funny because that was one of the big knocks, is that why the series didn't take off is not enough apes. So,
but also I was just also very excited because you weren't familiar with the series and you were like, 5 more movies in the Planet of the Apes. What are you talking about?
No,
and so you got to see what you got to see.
It was
one.
literally like, hey, we've discovered Göbekli Tepe over here. It's like this amazing archaeological dig. It's like, for me, this was like a discovery because I had no idea. I knew that there was the animated series. I had watched the animated series, but somehow it just passed me by. And you know, I'm crazy for apes. I love the Planet of the Apes movies, all of them. I like the new ones. I like the old ones.
And we have 3 more to go because you have.
Well, we have 2 more to go.
2 more to go. Okay,
I got to hunt down the rest. Did you in the first one in the horse race? I was really taken by the action of the actual horse race. Those horses were booking the stunt riders.
Well, that's Jack Starrett. He's an action director.
But
right?
they were like really good. And at some points, I was like kind of scared. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to like hurt themselves.
They
or
were
something.
pushing those. They were racing. That was a real race.
It was a real race.
No, Jack Starrett. You know, he did some episodes of the Starsky and Hutch around that time too. If you're bringing him for that episode, you're bringing him in to do the horse race,
right?
Yeah, because he's an action guy. That's why he knew all the wranglers, you know. So
his team was spot on.
Yeah.
And that whole thing really about the wedges in the
oh my God,
hoof.
did you not cringe and stuff?
Yeah.
You cringed when you heard about it, and then when they were pulling them out.
I learned all sorts of things watching this. I learned that when you have a scorpion on you, don't move. That's critical information. I can't believe it took me all these decades to learn. Not that I've had to worry about.
But you also you like the idea that, this is basically a Western series with apes.
At first I thought a Western, but the more I started watching it, the more I realized, no, this is like Robin Hood with apes. It's more like this, because the whole feudal dynamics of the world are less Old West and more kind of like year 800 to year 1000, you know, UK, where you've got the Normans and the Saxons. You've got all these Norman kind of landowners and the Saxons who are like, you know, oppressed. And the dynamics between them. And you could transplant this, you know, and have Robin Hood or, you know, whoever in Men in Tights, basically, running around. And the stories, you wouldn't have to change that much. Yeah. Other than every time they reference, you know, apes, just reference Normans.
I always like this quote I found from James Naughton, who did not really like doing the TV show. He did it.
You can kind of tell. He wants to be on Starsky and Hutch.
I think he wanted to be on stage, but he did give a good quote. But like from James Naughton, we have the opportunity to make some comments about what is happening in our civilization today. After all, the Planet of the Apes exists because humans destroyed themselves and their world through nuclear war. And then he also says, man is the only primate that makes war on his own kind and for what appears to be pretty lousy reasons. So it's today too. It's right now.
Those themes exist
2023
eternally. Yeah.
I love it. I just love it. And I do find a slight nuclear theme going through the 3 movies, because you can say like the Cold War.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Here, the Planet of the Apes, you know, the humans nuclear exploded themselves. So.
Oh, there you are. It's getting easier for me to remember your arrival. Oh, I do so look forward to our visits. Yeah, much more than I looked forward to helping our astronaut friends. Well, at the risk of my very own life, I might add. Burke and Verdon captured their precious computer disk stolen and Urko on our trail. Goodness, and then, when we least expected I have never seen such treachery and greed on the Planet of the Apes. Oh.
And we're back, and we're here with my daughter, Gala.
I have arrived. Okay, so you answered the why of why this, because I saw it and I was like, what? Why? It's like there's 5 of these TV movies put together, but like why the 3rd one? And so that question was kind of answered for me and hopefully for everyone at home, because I'm guessing that when you see the name Treachery and Greed on the Planet of the Apes, you too will be scratching your head like I was at home.
Well, Quentin pointed out to me one episode is about treachery, the other one's about greed.
Actually, you pointed it out to me, my friend. I thought that was very smart. When it was all over with, I just thought they were co-titles. I go, well, no, actually, one is about treachery and one is about greed. You are correct, sir.
So I was like really stressed trying to find this because I'm like, I have to watch this. It's like Julie's coming in. I can't not watch the Planet of the Apes movie that they watch. No, I can't find this. This is really frustrating. Couldn't find it. I don't think it exists on the internet as a movie. I don't even know if it exists on VHS. I tried to find the individual episodes.
Unless you taped it off of TNT when they show them. Yeah.
But I did find the entire series on the Internet Archive. And so what did I do? I didn't just watch the 2 episodes. I watched the entire show.
Oh, you watched the entire series? Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's dedication.
That's cool.
I can't
Did you like the series?
You know what? I have a few problems with it. It's fun. Roger will tell you, I kind of like, what is that show? Bigfoot and Wild Boy?
What, Bigfoot and Wild Boy?
I really like Bigfoot and Wild Boy, which is like nothing similar to this, but it makes me feel the same thing. So, as Julie kind of mentioned, okay, there's 5 movies. They each take 2 episodes from the show and they mash them together. Back to the Planet of the Apes has episode 1, which is Escape from Tomorrow, and episode 3, which Urko gets trapped. It's called The Trap. Movie 2 is The Forgotten City of the Planet of the Apes, which has The Gladiators, which Quentin mentioned.
That's the William Smith one.
Which is episode 2, mixed with episode 5, which is called The Legacy. And then the movie that we watched today, which is episode 9, The Horse Race, and episode 11, The Tyrant. 4th one is Life, Liberty, and Pursuit on the Planet of the Apes.
Wow. This is the best title.
The best title of all the Planet of the Apes
Maybe of all the Planet of the Apes movies, that's the best title of all.
Which is the best title, which is episode 7, The Surgeon, and episode 10, The Interrogation, which are like 2 of the stronger episodes, I would say. And then the 5th movie is Farewell to the Planet of the Apes, with episode 6, Tomorrow's Tide, and episode 14, Up Above the World So High. Okay, so they leave out a few episodes in these movie mashups, and they're the really good episodes, which really made me kind of like upset, because if I hadn't I was going to say like, oh, well, maybe I should just skip the episodes that aren't in these movies. And I was like, no, I should dedicate myself to like the full experience of like, what would it have been like to watch this? I mean, you would have had to watch it weekly. I wouldn't have gotten it all at once.
But you watched it sequentially.
You were able to binge.
I watched it. I binged it. I binged Planet of the Apes.
You deep
Danger!
I did that on purpose.
Take him to the shower. Wire brush him.
I know. We have to get like the Clockwork Orange. The Clockwork Orange.
No, like Silkwood. Silkwood shower.
He wants me. Take the radioactive particles off of me.
The best episode of the show, in my opinion, is episode 8, which is called The Deception. It is an episode where they come across a blind female monkey whose father was killed by humans, and she falls in love with one of the human guys, not knowing that he's a human because he reads to her. And that's the one thing that she really misses, is reading. And it's a really touching episode, and also features the version of the Ku Klux Klan in Planet of the Apes. There's like, and they wear hoods.
Oh, God.
And they chase humans.
An ape version of the Ku Klux Klan?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's fascinating. And then it reveals, though, that this Ku Klux Klan of apes actually did kill her father. It wasn't humans that did it. So there is ape-on-ape violence in this world. And apes
shall not kill ape!
Yeah. It's a very, very touching story. And then episode 13 is kind of cool, too. It features, like, the little neighborhood that's run by humans. And they have, like, a sacrificial altar, but it's really a gas mask and all this stuff. But there's a lot of really cool stuff that the show does.
I love the trap one. I love the one where Urko and James Naughton get...
And the reveal of what Urko sees is really cool, because he carries it with him at the end. And he's about to pull it out to show him. And then the human's like, yeah, I know. I know about that. And that's when Urko decides, like, I have to attack him. Yeah. And I have to pursue these guys, because these guys are going to put me back in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it kind of sets up Urko's whole thing. Now, I agree with that ape review. that the problem with the show is that there's too many humans.
Too much Starsky and Hutch?
Yeah, these guys are really freaking annoying. I'm sorry, but like they really
how
grow.
casual they are about their situation and wandering through this crazy world that they're in.
The first episode, like they crash and one of their co-pilots is dead. And then like for the next few episodes, they're kind of trying to like get wiring and stuff to like redo stuff. And they go to like a machine that like has information about the past and stuff. And then by the end of the series, like there's none of that. They're just like going around making windmills and stuff. But they're so annoying. And my problem is that Galen, like McDowell is amazing as always. I mean, we don't even have to say how good he is acting this. But his whole thing is like, oh, I believe that humans and apes should be equal. Like, we're equal. We're equal. Okay, no, these two human guys that you're with do not believe that at all. They think that they're superior. And
yeah, Galen's wrong.
At the first,
poor Galen, he's like an idealist, and he's hooked up with these two like.
That's the problem. At the first chance that
guys
these
from the
humans
70s.
get, at the first chance these humans get, they will put him back in a cage. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And you can kind of see them like starting to like get more disgruntled with him as the show goes on because he has to pretend to like be their master and like they're his slaves. And they're just like sick of it. They're like, well, we know how to make windmills and like we know how to do this and we know how to do that. And it's just they're so annoying. Every chance they get, it's like we're superior.
Even the horse race, they go, well, because you've never seen a human jockey before. That was the Urko voice, but that's James Norton was because you've never seen a human jockey before. We're the ones that know how to horse ride.
Yeah, I grew up on horses. Like,
I grew up on
as
horses.
if he should know that.
But also, they also does the thing that I always like hated when I was a kid, where they made it pretty obvious that they considered Ron Harper, the blonde guy, to be the macho one of the group, and the other guy's the pretty boy. So every action always has to do with Ron Harper. Yeah. It's always going to be him riding the horse. It's amazing that James Naughton gets like maybe one of the best episodes that an astronaut gets in the one with him and Urko.
Yeah, that is surprising that they didn't switch the roles kind of and put him down there.
Okay, here's the other thing that's a problem with it. Just to make Ron Harper seem more macho, they make it so like that the humans can fight against the apes. And like you see the humans win battles, win fist fights with gorillas. And it just, doesn't make any sense
Makes
whatsoever.
no sense at all. In fact, what this did do that I hadn't seen in any of the other, in these earlier ape movies, the actual theatrical ones, was there's a moment where there's like a raid on the village or whatever, and all the ape, there's chaos everywhere. And suddenly, I think it's Galen, jumps. And you see him like jump, like, and they did like this kind of springboard thing, and he goes flying up onto this rooftop. And I was like, oh my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Like, that's right. These are apes, man. They're super strong.
Yeah, they kind of like de-strengthen the apes. And the brunette guy who doesn't ever get any like physical action, Naughton, he does this thing though every now and then in an episode. I think it happens twice where he jumps up and like kicks the ape in the back.
Oh yeah, he loves doing that little jump kick.
No, he has a little jump kick. No, I've got
it's like his signature move.
I've got a bubblegum card of him doing that jump kick. All right,
he must have like known how to do that jump kick, and they were like, hey, do that jump kick again.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, my problem is just like the human guys are so annoying, and Galen's like, oh, these are my friends. We're equals. And it's like, clearly they like, you might think like, oh, we're equal. No, these guys think you're a freaking monkey. They're gonna put you in a cage first chance. And then also Galen is always saying, oh, my friends don't lie. Every single episode, these guys tell a lie. Every single one. It is so annoying. And like every episode, Galen's like, oh, my friends don't lie. And by the way, he does know everyone. Every episode, he's like, oh, I know that guy.
Okay,
it's like
so it is a thing.
Like after getting stung by the scorpion, he's like, oh, hello, I'm here, and I know that person.
So Gala knows that apes rule.
I know that apes rule.
Less humans.
Yeah, and more apes.
More apes. Gala, you remember when you were little and
small?
Well, when you were a young child.
Yes.
And I used to play Ape on the Loose.
Yes, I think we brought this up actually once before on the podcast,
Did
maybe.
we?
But this is the reason why I don't like monkey movies.
What?
Well, you're not.
My dad does a really good imitation of a gorilla.
I scared you.
And he used to, yeah, he's going to start doing it right now. And he.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And he used to chase. But he used to chase me around the house doing that, and he still does it every now and then. Like in,
scare
you. But like in hotels, we'll be in a hotel, he'll just start up, and we're in the hallway.
You kind of run like a monkey.
Sometimes he'll do it in the car, like if I bring it up,
you're
in
trapped
the car.
in the car.
You're trapped in a car
This
with
is
an ape. Trapped in the car with an ape. Yeah. It's terrifying.
Just one of the many things that my dad would do that brings me extreme joy as an adult.
You're not going to come to Ape Month if we do that at the New Beverly?
Well,
with monkeys and apes and every movie's going to be connected?
It's like Shakma and like what other ones?
Gorillas in the Mist.
Horse Race, as Ape said, directed by Jack Starrett. Also Cleopatra Jones.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And also Slaughter. So that episode, I think, has some of like the better action and also better camera work.
Yeah.
They use really good, like just on the close-ups and stuff. And the Tyrant, Ralph Senesky, besides all of his TV, I mean, he also did that. I don't know if you guys have seen it, the TV movie Death Cruise.
Yeah.
He did that one. I actually really enjoy that
But
one.
Richard Long and
it's
Polly Bergen.
That's a good whodunit. That's a good whodunit with a really good twist. Available on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Edward Albert.
Yeah. It's a fun one.
And Kay Jackson, yeah.
But yeah, the Tyrant's also surprisingly like one of those episodes. Besides the one with the blind ape, I found it like a little touching because the gorilla in question really is a dynamic character.
He's a great character. He's such a great character.
You find out that like he hasn't been able to rise up because he cheated, and it's been 20 years, but now he's resorted to cheating. And I didn't realize that Ralph Senesky did Star Trek. It makes so much sense though, because that feels like it could be a Klingon storyline.
Oh, completely.
Like 100% that could be and I think
well,
there
a lot
even
of this
is a
old
Klingon.
television, like a lot of it is, I mean, I don't want to say it's interchangeable, but like a lot of these scripts are like true classical television screenwriting, episodic television at its finest, and really good. Like Gene Roddenberry would tell you, Star Trek's not about phasers. It's not about the spaceship. That could have been on a submarine.
Did you guys, I went down the rabbit hole, Rod Serling wrote like episode 1 and episode 2 that never got shot of the TV series.
Oh, I didn't.
Really?
I found the scripts online. I'm going to read them. I'm like really curious. So,
well,
since he was involved with
in
the
the
first
movies, it's Paul Dean, all right, the guy who later wrote the Murder on the Orient Express screenplay. He's the architect of the movies, all right, and he's the one that like really kills it with Beneath the Planet of the Apes, but he's really is kind of the architect of the way the movies went.
Anyway, I had an interesting time watching the show. You really have to dig for it online. It's really difficult to find. So if people are able to wiggle their way through the algorithm and through the search engines and find it.
It also existed a long time ago on DVD, you know.
Oh, yeah, it's on DVD. And I looked yesterday, and you can still buy it. Actually, cheaper than when we bought our copies. I think we paid over $100 for this series, and I think they were $45, $50 online now.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good evening and welcome to Cinema 17. Tonight, 2 American astronauts escape death and crash in a strange lab.
We landed somewhere. Could be Earth.
Earth, yes, but 1,000 years in the future.
Yeah, well, we could have landed in a worse place, I'll tell you that. Those were apes. What kind of planet is this?
Return back to the Planet of the Apes, coming up next on PHL 17.
Okay, let's hand out some awards. Here we go.
Ba-ba-da-ba.
I think when it comes to lead performances here, we don't have that strong of a competition. So I'm going with George Segal for Best Lead Actor, and I'm going with Senta Berger for Best Lead Actress for The Quiller Memorandum.
I'm going to go with McDowell.
Yeah, I'm going with McDowell also. Mostly for that one scene. Being on television. And for that scene to have such gravitas between these two actors.
I'm not giving you any argument about McDowell.
No,
he also plays both Galen in that second episode, and I think the monkey that he's pretending to be is Augustus.
Yes,
I think that's the name of the assistant, and he does a really good job differentiating between the two within the same makeup.
Octavian.
Octavius. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Senta Berger for female lead. I like Senta Berger in it.
I think Senta Berger is like kind of our only choice.
Yeah.
Well, no. You can always go with.
Well, I guess there's a female lead in Rodan. Maybe
Yumi Shirakawa.
Yeah, the daughter of the older guy that died.
I guess she's a lead.
Shigeru's love interest in it.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's also that's
No. I'm
pretty much it.
going with the girl in the Quiller Memorandum.
Yes.
Scent-a-burger.
George Segal, because he's near and dear to my heart, and Scent-a-burger.
Okay.
She was also when women had tails, right?
Yeah,
Was she,
yeah.
Okay,
She's a
that's
girl,
how
yeah.
I know her. So it's like actually nice to see her in a completely different.
Yeah, and she's
role.
she's in Cross of Iron. She's in Major Dundee. I went to go check. I felt I was wrong. I did not think that John Hoyt was the gorilla in The Tyrant. He's not. All right. He is who I thought he was. He's the kindly prefect in the first episode. The guy who
he's in the first episode.
Yeah, he's the
He was great. I like his little gray.
Yeah, I liked his I liked his character too. And he hires the father and son at the end. The actual guy who plays General Urko is actually a fantastic black actor named Percy Rodriguez, who you've seen in a bunch of things, but you know his voice. That's why I was like so taken with his voice. Percy Rodriguez had one of those great voices that he also did a lot of movie trailers narration. And he's famous he did the trailer narration for Rolling Thunder. There's a storm brewing inside this man. And it's waiting to explode. From the author of Taxi Driver, Paul Schrader, comes a new excitement and rolling terror. Rolling Thunder. Best supporting actor. There's not really an actress in this one. All right. Best supporting actor. Absolutely. Percy Rodriguez.
I would be willing to go there, except I was kind of already set on Alec Guinness.
Yeah,
I was thinking Alec Guinness. Now I'm having an internal discussion.
You're allowed to. You're allowed to come over to the dark side and side with me.
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. I am team Avery when it comes to Moonraker. I wanted to put that out there for you guys. So I am on your team sometimes.
A Moonraker mention has been made.
Oh, you just made my day. You have no idea. I feel so warm. It just makes me want to talk more about Moonraker in this episode. Let's.
So I was kind of debating about Max von Sydow, but thinking about what made the Planet of the Apes show good, specifically this movie, I think is partially that performance in The Tyrant because it's a tortured performance.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to give it to him. You said his name was Percy?
Percy Rodriguez.
Percy Rodriguez.
And there is a special, and it is really exciting when him and Urko actually, midway through, actually have a scene together. Oh, wow, look at them together.
Yeah, that was really good. And Max von Sydow, the interrogation scene in the Quiller Memorandum is probably my favorite part because it gets so intense right there. Mm-hmm. But when you're acting in all that makeup and also just, it's a great job.
Yeah, acting through that makeup also. Yeah, to express yourself through all of that. Prosthetics. I
agree. And I'll also say, Max von Sydow and Alec Guinness, they had Harold Pinter's screenplay to work with. So I'm switched in my mind. I'm going to Percy Rodriguez. So I got to be loyal to my apes. So.
Yeah.
Apes must rule.
Must rule the
world.
So there you go.
Ape sweep. Ape sweep, except for this Avery character.
Oh my Lord, the monkey.
How about screenplay?
Yeah, I give it to Rodan. Yeah. As much as I like the Harold Pinter screenplay, I like the roundaboutness that the story went and how it got to where it was going. But I do think it flags at a certain point where
Rodan never flags.
Rodan just gets better and better and better as it goes on.
I'm with Rodan as well. I'm 100% with Rodan. What I like about Pinter is mostly the innuendos that are constantly occurring between men.
Yeah, well, I like the wit of Harold Pinter. It is with Rodan.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even really like the Quiller Memorandum that much. But I'm gonna give best screenplay to the Quiller Memorandum just because I really like the whole cigarette thing and how that dialogue evolves. And I thought the dialogue was really smart in it. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed Rodan more and definitely liked Rodan more. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
To me, director is Ishirō Honda.
Well, I'm going to give it to Honda also, although Michael Anderson, for me, there's something...
This is not a Lifetime Achievement Award. This is a movie,
I agree.
single movie.
You're right.
Yeah.
We're not giving it for Logan's Run.
Both of these men could receive Lifetime Achievement Awards.
But we're not giving it for Logan's Run, Dad.
What about Orca?
We're not giving it for Orca. That's another
That will be,
episode.
when we do, and we will do Orca. That's a promise. That's a promise.
I don't know. There's just something about the craftsmanship of British filmmaking at its peak.
Well, I actually would not mind watching, because I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I would not mind watching Around the World in 80 Days again. I haven't seen it since I was a little boy.
Yeah.
You know, though, you did bring up a really good thing with Michael Anderson about the whole, like, the Mercedes building pulling out and having him doing the salute against the glass.
I mean, I think he's doing a kind of thematic mise-en-scène in a way that Honda is just delivering. Honda's just delivering the goods as efficiently and greatly as possible. You're watching buildings blow up and all that stuff, but Michael Anderson, he's working on a thematic level he's encoding his film visually in a way that is that I think he has to do, that Honda doesn't have to do, because he can play everything straight.
Yeah.
For me, Best Director goes to, and it goes back to what we had at Video Archives. We all had a passion for watching movies, y'all for making movies, to the New Beverly, where there's a passion. We love showing movies. We love watching movies. Ishirō Honda loves making movies, and his passion and his crew's passion and his cast's passion shows 110% on that beautiful IB Technicolor print.
Yeah.
It's Honda, and there's no question.
And he's making the movie for the people. He's making movies for the people in the seats, staring at the screen flicker, looking at it like an insect, just watching that magic on screen.
Magic, movie magic.
Okay, and I think, dare I say, Rodan, best film.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
there's
only
actually
silence because we're confused as to like what other choice.
Well, my first thought was, okay, it's absolutely better than the Quiller Memorandum. But then I'm like, well, Treachery and Greed on Planet of the Apes. Is it fair? Like I was actually considering trying to like distill it down. Like, look, this is a lightweight competing against a heavyweight.
There's nothing wrong with us actually having a classic or two in our lineup.
Honestly, if you were gonna put Rodan up against the Planet of the Apes movies, it's like, this is not the one to put it up against.
I agree. Thank you, daughter. Thank you for...
Having said that, Percy Rodriguez ate apples off the heads.
Just because Rodan is clearly the best, it doesn't mean the others are bad.
No,
it's just that our best.
It's just Rodan exists in a level of classic, all right?
100%, yes.
Back at a time when the guy was just making 3 classics a fucking year.
Yeah.
Crazy with all that work, you know?
For the Planet, I'm just curious, for the Planet of the Apes episode, did they just like mash them together? Like, is there any narration or anything? No. Because I heard that the last one has McDowell's character Galen like doing a narration.
No, that would make sense. He would be the one that if they were going to tie
like reminiscing.
They do that.
Yeah.
It would be easy enough for him to narrate the entire thing if they wanted to go that way. I guess they didn't want to pay Roddy that kind of money.
I think they filmed it actually too. Part of it.
I heard for the last one they did do that. So I was surprised that for the third one they didn't.
You can tell since the apes are giving Michael Conrad and his son a hard time, and the astronauts are hiding in the roof. You could tell that there was a whole thing where like they came up, hey, they came up to the farm, hey, how are you doing? Oh, hey, here come the apes. Okay, hide. Yeah, so the whole setup was just cut out just to get right into the action.
I would like to create an award called Best Title Sequence, and I want to give that to Treachery and Greed on Planet of the Apes. Because that title sequence was like something out of Saul Bass.
There's that. Yeah,
that's cool.
It had such a great entrance to the movie.
As a matter of fact, that they were able to take the TV series title sequence, and because it was Fox doing it, they didn't give it to some local TV station to do it. They were able to really do it well.
Yeah,
all right, and really tie the feature credits into it really well.
Like with that Planet of the Apes music, that kind of crazy, I don't know, clanking pans music, and
just the gorilla,
all the silhouettes,
the gorillas holding the rifle, the
in the air
rifle.
on horseback in front of a giant sun.
I know, it was amazing.
All of that kind of lithographic filmmaking being done, and like just look amazing. I was so amped to watch a Planet of the Apes movie.
The way they just fetishize the gorilla soldiers, that silhouette is the silhouette that they keep choosing to.
Awesome! Best silhouette ever, ape silhouette.
Well, that brings us to an end of another exciting chapter. We want to thank our fellow employee, Julie McLean.
Woo, thank you all so
Unruly
much.
Julie.
Appreciate y'all.
Now, if you could just put all these tapes away.
Actually, I still love filing tapes. That was going to be one of my questions to Quentin. I'm like, oh, you need these tapes filed away? Because I saw a lot downstairs.
And I want to thank our co-host, Gala Raquel Avery and Roger Tiberius Avery.
Apes!
Thank you, Quentin.
Wednesday's child is a child of woe. Wednesday's child cries alone, I know.
The Video Archives podcast is hosted by Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery and produced by Josh Richmond and Gala Avery, with executive producers Colin Anderson and Natalie Muallim. Our engineers are Alex Gonzalez and Casey Holford. Find out more about the show and get Video Archives merch at videoarchivespodcast.com. You can also find us on Twitter at Video Archives and on Instagram at Video Archives Pod.
Love, they say, in your arms Friday was my day.
Have you ever wanted to hear Mick Garris discuss the differences between original source material and the movies they become? Or Joe Russo's favorite gateways into horror? What about author Max Brooks and how he thinks that Minecraft will literally save humanity? Join me, reporter on the beat Gala Avery, as I get to the bottom of these topics on my new show, The Gala Show. In this weekly podcast, guests from Los Angeles and beyond have 30 minutes on the clock to bring whatever topic they want to the mic. So, tune in every Thursday for a new guest with an entirely new topic. The first episode drops October 26th, available wherever you get your podcasts.